Okay, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. Hope you're all doing all right. This revision session is all about market research and segmentation. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm literally going to focus on just a couple of questions. So just remember, this isn't everything you need. It's just a couple of things we need for certain questions. So that's the whole purpose of these revision sessions. We just focus purely on some practice questions to help you along the way. So it's really important that you maintain your revision, you cover the whole units when it comes to it. Reminder, your mock exam is in the first week of December. It's going to cover everything from year 10 plus the stuff we missed, so units 1 to 5. Okay, so I'm going to start off by showing my screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, quick little recap. Everything you need to help you prepare for your exam is on Microsoft Teams. So I've all signed up to be part of this one, Business Year 11. Okay, and there'll be some posts on here as we go through, be like a little feed. But if you go into files, there's loads of stuff to help you. So for example, for these actual revision sessions, if you go into teacher recordings, this one should be in Unit 2. Okay, so when this video is finished, well, which you'll be accessing, you should have access to the video there. These are the questions we're going to be tackling. So I'm hoping that in preparation for this session, you would have had a go at these questions already. If you haven't, you could just pause the video now and then have a go at these questions before we move on. Okay, so these are the questions we're going to have a go at attempting in a bit. Okay, so as I said, these are the files you're going to need. If we just go back up to files, can I go back? Where is it? Stupid thing. Right, okay, let's go back. If we go to files, oh, it's there. So we've got teacher recordings, and more we'll do, the more that they'll appear there. We've also got on here in revision PowerPoints and questions. This is basically all the PowerPoints for every single unit for business studies, stuff we'll be using in the lesson. And also, this is quite a useful, well, there's your revision list as well. I'll put that there as well. So everything you need to know for the exam, referring also to the CGP textbook as well to help you. All right, let's close that down. And yeah, this one's quite a good one as well. GCSE technique sheet, I'll refer to this today. This is quite useful. This is a resource I found last week, and it tells you kind of how to answer certain questions. You know, these command words such as explain, discuss, analyze, justify, evaluate, what they mean. And also there's some useful kind of sentence starters and structures and connectives. Okay, so really useful to answering your questions. And as I said, I'm going to refer to it as we go through. Okay, so as I said, today we're just focusing on market research and market segmentation. These are the objectives. So basically what Edexcel say you need to be able to do. So understand the purpose of market research, so why you do it, what's the purpose of it. Describe different methods, so primary, secondary, and the differences between two different types of data, qualitative and quantitative. Okay, similar words mean very, very different things. Okay, so remember, in the first context of units 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, there is if you're starting a business up, it's relatively a small business. So you've got to think about it in the context of if you're a small business and you're starting up. Okay, so if you're starting a new business, you need to know, basically, is your idea, is there a need for it? Okay, is it going to be successful? So before you start your own business, you need to find out, you need to do your research, you need to do a bit of work. If you ever watch Dragon's Den, they always say, have you done your research? Okay, there's no point saying, well, I'm going to invent a new type of shoe, even though you don't know if there's anyone's going to buy it, basically. Okay, so market research, you can see there, is the process of doing your homework, essentially, recording, analysing data to understand the customers, competitors, and the market. So you need to understand, are people going to buy your product or service, your customers? Okay, if they are, who are the companies you're going to be competing against? Okay, and finally, is there going to be a market for it? Is it going to last a long time, or is it temporary? That sort of thing. So you need to conduct market research. Okay, what I mean by market research is not going down the Concord, seeing what shops are there. Well, that could be some sort of side of it, but how is it used? So we're going to identify what customers' needs and how we're going to meet their needs. All right. And the only way to do that is to speak to the customers themselves. Another way is to identify a gap in the market. So is there a product or service which is probably in need, which no other business can provide at this moment? It can help inform business decisions. So if you're a up-and-coming business, do you want to expand? Do you want to grow? Is there a need to grow? And in Unit 6, we're doing at the moment, we're talking about how do you grow a business? Now, growth does not necessarily mean more profit or more revenue. It could be growth as in size of the business or the products you sell, or it could even be number of employees. Okay, another why use market research is to identify if there's any risk, especially if you're a business starting up. Okay, is there any risk? Another reason you could do this is if you're a business startup, you need to ask for some sort of funding. So let's say go to a bank, and your market research will go into your business plan. Okay, because one of the bank will want to know, well, how do you know you're going to be successful? Okay, how do you know you predict you're going to make this much money? Okay, well, you say, well, I've done some market research. This is my data. This is how I think we're going to be profitable. Okay, so different types of data. The first one is quantitative. I hate saying that word because I always mess it up. Quantitative data. So this is where you do some sort of research and you end up with actual numbers, physical numbers, what's called measurable data. Data you can actually present and analyze really easily, mathematically analyze. So, for example, it could be a survey, and you very simply you could ask 100 people to say, okay, out of 100 people, would you buy a pair of pink shoes? Okay, stupid question. Okay, and you can find 56 people said yes, and 46 people said no. With that data, you can clearly see, okay, the majority of people said yes. Okay, obviously you wouldn't go up. Is that enough to warrant making pink shoes? I don't know. So quantitative data is when we're collecting data that is numerical and can be counted and analyzed. Okay, so this is where you could be asking people very, very closed questions or multiple choice questions. Okay. The good thing about this is it's very, very easy to analyze. It's actually quite easy to do, especially if we go down the method of doing social media using an online platform. Heard of something called SurveyMonkey, is like an online service, and you can just send a link to many people and they can answer the questions, and straight away it can give you analyzed data straight away. It's absolutely fantastic. So quantitative data has a lot of benefits. Okay. Qualitative data is slightly different. This is when you're generally gathering people's opinions. Okay, say why they like thing. What would you prefer? What motivate you to do something? What would make you buy this product? What do you think? There's a lot of benefits to it. You can really drill down and find out exactly what your customer wants. You identify your typical customer, and then you do some sort of market research to generate qualitative data. So you can ask them exactly what they want, and it gives them the opportunity, the freedom to give you their opinions. With quantitative data, you're choosing the questions and you're basically choosing their answer. They select it, okay? Whereas with qualitative data, it's more open questions. What I mean by open questions, like, well, tell me about the type of shoes you would like. And then you're not telling them, would you prefer pink shoes or black shoes? They're open up to then give their opinion. And it gives you a true sort of idea of what the customer wants. Now, the difficulty with this is it's very difficult to analyze because you have open questions and you can't just put a number on it. You'll have to spend a lot of time analyzing that data to gauge the customer's opinions, and it can take a long time. Okay. Methods of qualitative data could be stuff like interviews, it could be focus groups, that sort of thing we'll talk about in a second. Okay. So here's a table I've done just to kind of sum up the difference between quantitative data and qualitative data. So quantitative data, numerical, it's easy to analyze. You could put that data into a spreadsheet, and you could easily produce like a pie chart to show people's, what people prefer. And that'll be very useful for stuff like a business plan, or to maybe show to shareholders about, particularly what product you want to try and launch. Okay. It doesn't provide detailed reasoning, so we don't know why people came up with these answers. Okay, they're just ticking a box what we, due to the questions we're giving them. So it can be very, very useful. However, it might not give us the true reasons about why the customers have answered those questions. So qualitative data, as I said, it can provide a lot of detail which can help you make key decisions because you're speaking to your customers' true opinions. But as I said, it's very time consuming. Okay, you could send out, so for example, go to quantitative data, that could be a survey with many different questions, and you can send that out via email, or it could be one of these things which pop up on websites, want your quick opinions, and that can be done, you know, within a few clicks of a mouse, and you can reach thousands of people. Whereas qualitative data, if you're doing interviews or focus groups, that's going to take a lot of time to get the same kind of spread, to get the same kind of sample size. Okay, very quickly. So primary research, actually I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to skip ahead of research methods. Okay, so primary research very quickly is when it's research which hasn't been done before. You decide to do your own research. Okay, so these could be, so focus groups. This is where you pick a small sample of your typical demographic. What I mean by that, your typical customer, and you get them in and you get them to sit down and discuss certain questions about your product. I was asked to do one when I was at university, and there was a little incentive. I earned 50 quid. I had to go to central London, and it was all about it was the Royal Mail asking for a focus group about delivery and parcels, that sort of thing. This is before the time of Amazon, and you know, they just shoved us in a room and asked us questions about Royal Mail and how much you pay for like a parcel service and this, that, and the other. And what happened is we had these discussions, and then there was people there working for Royal Mail, and they write down our answers. This is primary research method. It's just that was a qualitative method. Okay, another one could be observations, where you take a sample and you just observe people, and you make maybe you give them a product or a service and see how they react to that. Another one, so surveys and questionnaires are quantitative. So a questionnaire would be something you'd send out in the post, or it could be online. And a survey could also be, it's very similar to a questionnaire, but you might involve somebody stopping people in the street. Okay, these are all primary research methods. You are doing the research yourself. The business is doing the research itself. Okay, gone through all that. Now, secondary research is where you're accessing research which has already been done. So this is probably information you're finding from the internet. It could be looking at there's a huge company, I can't remember the top of my head. There's a huge company who do loads and loads of research, and you can actually access that, and you can actually download that data. It could be even looking at social media and analytics, so Google Analytics, looking at what people are clicking on. All of this is secondary research. Now the problem with that is you can't choose the questions you're going to be asking. You're accessing the data secondhand. Another method of secondary research would be government reports. So it could be statistics based on particular people, like a census, for example. You might find certain people living in a certain area. What sort of things are they interested in? Okay. I'm going to come away from this, and we're going to go to a question. All right, so multiple choice, nice and simple. Okay, which one of the following is an example of secondary market research? Well, a customer survey, well, that's going to be primary because the business will be doing that themselves. Okay, a focus group would be primary research because you can tailor that yourself depending on who you want in there, the type of person you want in there, and what question you're going to ask. A market report is secondary market research because the business itself wouldn't have done it. It would have been done by a company, an official company about a particular market. And an observation is primary research. Okay. Which are the two examples of primary market research? Okay. So as we've just seen, market reports and internet research are secondary. The report is done by a separate company. Internet research, well, anything on the internet, unless you're looking at something you've done yourself, okay, is secondary. Okay, a customer survey would be primary because you're doing it yourself. Government statistics are taken by the government, it's not you doing it, so that's going to be secondary. And so a focus group is another primary method. Okay, obvious thing, but ladies and gents, read the questions carefully. Which two of these? Select two answers. The amount of times I've taken an exam paper and someone has just done one, or they've left it blank, which kind of, I have no idea why they didn't even bother having a go with it. Okay, so let's now have a look at this question here. So it's 3 marks. It's an explain question. I'm going to take you back to this. Okay, so section A questions. Okay, there aren't any context. So you can see there, section A questions never have a case study or context. So look at this. It just says one disadvantage to a small business, not any particular one, not like whatever it was, frog bikes or whatever, but it just means to any business. So there's no need to contextualize. There's no marks, what's called AO2, which is application to a scenario. Your marks here are for what's called AO1A and AO1B. AO1 is knowledge. AO1A is knowledge, AO1B is understanding. So you can get a mark for explaining, so you know what qualitative data is, a mark for that. And I think you get 2 marks for your understanding. Well, what does that mean? How do we demonstrate understanding? Let's have a look. Okay, so for an explain question, you make a point and then you have 2 strands. What do we mean by 2 strands? Well, 2 of these connectives. So we can say about, so what's the question asking again? What's a disadvantage to a business using qualitative data? So we get a mark for saying what a disadvantage of qualitative data is. Okay, and then what we need to do then is do 2 of these. This is good because, well, it's going to be, this is bad because, and this results in. These are these things we're looking at. And I always say, you just got to try and state the obvious. Okay, let's go back and let's look at our table here. So it's asking us, oops, let's go back to the question. One disadvantage to a small business of using qualitative data. Okay, qualitative data. Right, it can be time consuming and it can be difficult to analyze. Okay, so how can we put this into a good answer? So first of all, we need to show that we understand what qualitative data is. Okay, so let's get a mark for that. So I'll start off by saying, this is where my typing skills really lack. Ooh. Qualitative data is mostly non-numerical. Okay, there we go. So I've explained that what qualitative data is. Probably get a mark for that. Okay, but now we need to think about a disadvantage. Say, let's go back. Makes it difficult to analyze. This means that it can be to analyze. Good. I think that's another mark. So that's our first, let's go back to this thing here. That's our first strand. We just have another strand. So this is where we're going to go to. This results in, or consequently, this means that. Okay. What does it mean if we can't analyze it? Well, state the obvious. This means that it may be difficult, excuse me, to make business decisions based on this data. Haven't specified what decisions they are. That's it. That's 3 marks. And I'd say that's the difficult thing about these types of questions. It's easy to remember it, which is AO1A. It's difficult to get these linked strands. So qualitative data is mostly non-numerical. That shows our understanding. That's why it shows our knowledge. This means that it can be difficult to analyze. This, I've used 2, this means that, but it's not a problem. This means that it may be difficult to make decisions based on this data. So as a result, all right, let's change that to as a result. Oops. It may be difficult. There we go, 3 marks. Okay, simple as that. Good. We've got another question. Okay, to move on to market mapping and market segmentation. Okay, I think market research is it's pretty straightforward. It's just remembering the different types and the benefits and drawbacks, and the showing the understanding in your questions. Okay, so market segmentation. Let's skip ahead. Okay, market segmentation. So a mass market product is basically a product or a service which meets everybody's needs, and there's not many of these things which exist because people are different and markets are very different. So what you want to do is, if you really want to identify where, if your product or service is going to be successful, you need to segment the market. You need to identify, well, who exactly is this aimed at? Well, there's an example. So you can see there is when we divide a market into smaller groups of consumers that share common needs or wants. So the example there in the image, we can see how a car gets us from A to B, but there's loads of different segments in cars. It could be luxury, expensive, fast cars. It could be cheap and affordable cars. There could be family cars, which are big enough to hold, 3 kids and a dog and whatever else. Okay, you want a small city car. You want something good for the environment, say electric car. You want something which is going to save you a lot of fuel. You want something cheap to insure. You've got loads of different market segments within the car industry. So what market mapping, market segmentation, it helps you identify clearly who you're aiming your product at. Okay, so what segmentation, you see there, helps businesses differentiate, in other words, change or modify their products so they can market them effectively. So you can say, right, I think this product should be sold in this location at this price. Okay, we should promote it in this particular way, right? Or this is due to market segmentation. And one way to do that is do something called a market map. So what you do is you choose 2 what's called variables of your market. Most of the time it's price and quality, and you do it on you do an X and a Y axis, and then doing a bit of research, you put your competitors on this map. Okay, and so you can see clearly whereabouts your competitors would be, and hopefully that can help identify if there's any gaps in the market. Okay, it says there you can use any 2 variables which are important to the customer. So you've got price and quality. That's the example we're going to be. You see, the other ones could be comfort and style for shoes, average temperature and facilities for holiday destination. It really depends on the product or the service. So here's an example of a market map for UK cars. So we've got here on your x-axis low quality going up to high quality, and your low price going up to high price. Now, where these brands go in, or the competitors, that's going to be dependent on where you do your research. So you have to be very careful about where you get your information from. It could be down to customers' opinions. So, for example, we can see here lowest quality but low price is Dacia, whichever way you pronounce it. Now, Dacia was actually owned by Renault. And Renault, what they could have done, they could have decided, right, we're going to make a really expensive, high quality car to compete with, say, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, and all this. But they identified that, right, there's no one doing a really cheap car. Okay, there's no one doing a really cheap car, and they identified a gap in the market there. Dacia are known for being it's the cheapest brand new car you can buy, and they've been really, really successful. I think the Dacia Duster was one of the highest selling cars a couple of years ago. I mean, you can see there, they are low quality. Not saying they're absolute rubbish, but you get what you pay for. If you don't, you get a cheaper car, you get cheaper materials, you don't get as many features in there. All right. And so you can see there, that's where generally the market is. Now, are you going to really go up here and say, oh, I've got an idea, let's do a low quality, really expensive car? No, there's a gap there for a reason. No one's going to spend that money, are they? Spend a lot of money on a cheap rubbish car. So you can see here, you might be able to identify where there might be gaps in the market. So you think, well, okay, let's have a high quality, but not too much of a high price car. But the problem with that is, in order to have high quality, you've got to spend a lot of money on high quality materials. Okay, so what you do here is you try and identify your gap in the market. So try and keep the price low and the quality high. You're trying to think, maybe go down here, or maybe think, well, there's quite a lot of people in this kind of area. Maybe even though Dacia has got basically low quality, low price cars. Well, there's not many other people in that area, other brands. Let's do my brand to compete with Dacia. You can see a lot of them here are competing in this particular area, and depending on what your perception of cars is, you might think, well, the market's what's called flooded. Okay, so that's how you can use a market map to identify, well, generally also your customers' perceptions of these brands as well. Let's use another one as an example. So market map for chocolate. So believe it or not, M&M's is low quality, low price. So well, I kind of like the peanut ones, but if you're comparing the quality of the chocolate, it's very different to like your premium brands. Now, interestingly, Ferrero Rocher has got a high price, but it's right in the middle between low and high quality. That's all down to its promotion, its marketing, because it promotes itself as like a high class brand, really. I mean, generally all it is, it's a nut surrounded in Nutella with wafer and some more nuts. But the way it's marketed is the fact that it seems like a premium brand, so they can charge more price, but the quality isn't necessarily up there with like Lindt and Hotel Chocolat sort of thing. Mars has got quite a low price, but a good quality because of the size of the business itself. They can maintain that due to economies of scale. They can actually keep prices low, but quality high because they make so many of them. So you can see here, we could identify perhaps in here, we could have there's not many ones right in the middle here. So maybe identify, okay, well, maybe we could price our chocolate, just on the high side. Just quite low, but maintain some high quality there. Okay, so those are market maps. Okay, let's have a look at our questions. So explain one business of using a market map. So once again, we're looking at AO1A, which is subject knowledge, okay, and AO1B, which is understanding, okay. This means that as a result. So we're looking at is market map. Where's my thing? There it is. Is it there? Sorry, I just keep on losing my cursor. Okay. Explain one benefit to a business of a market map. Okay. So we need to show knowledge what a market map is. So we say the market map will help identify. My typing key features of competitors. Okay. Or the market male. Okay. So what that means is the market map will help identify key features of competitors. So what that is price and quality. So actually doing it, you could sort of, well, it just makes you visualize these what's called variables or features of these different brands. So do a market map. Okay, well, we think Infinity, low quality but quite high price. Infinity is the luxury brand of Nissan, by the way, if you didn't know. Okay, so let's go back to answer. That's our first mark. That's our AO1A. The market map will help identify key features and competitors. I'm going to change this to different font because I'm picky like that. Okay, that's our first mark. So now we want a link strand. Okay, so what does it do? This allows businesses, or a business to spot a gap in the market. Okay. This would, now we did our second link. Okay, this will allow, what should I say? This will allow them to focus on features to make themselves. So what happens if you spot a gap in the market? We can focus on features, make themselves different and stand out and take advantage of that gap in the market. Okay, that's it. 3 possible marks. What else you could say? You could also say how a market map helps a business make decisions about its products so they are different from their competitors. And that means they're likely to get more customers. All right. There's multiple ways you can do it, but the key about getting these 3 marks, squeezing out these 3 marks, is those 2 link strands. Okay, so the last one, market segmentation. Right, 30 minutes, so let's try and wrap it up pretty quick. So if we go back into market segmentation, is when what we're doing is we're identifying key features of our customers and why we're doing it. So this is where it's probably good to use an example of how you could actually specify a particular market. So explain one way a small business could use market segmentation. So how can we segment a market? We could identify, it could be quite simply gender, male and female. We could segment it into, or it could be female, so it could be female people who earn over £25,000, okay? Or it could even be down to a location. It could be, I mean, for example, if you are quite simply a shop owner, you could be after, let's say you open, I don't know, like a fashion shop in the Bullring. It could be females between 16 and 30 who live in this local area. Okay, so what we're going to do is explain how we could use it. So let's go with the example of a gender. Okay, so we say a business could use market segmentation by using gender. That's it. You've explained there. You're using segmentation by using gender. That's your 1 mark. That's your AO1, AO1A. Okay. So what does this mean? Okay. Well, it just means products or services could be targeted to customers depending on if they are male or female. Once again, stating the obvious. All right. The business could use market segmentation by using gender. Different products or services could be targeted to customers depending on if they are male or female. Obvious, okay? That's your AO1B. Let's get another mark. What would this lead to? That's the second link, okay? So this would lead to the business being able to meet, oh my word, customers. I mean, it is just, it's stating the obvious and it's just expanding your answer. So a business could use market segmentation by using gender. Different products or services could be targeted depending on if they're male or female, quite clearly. This would lead to the business being able to meet the needs of those particular customers. It's just squeezing out those extra couple of marks. Another example I've got here, a small business could segment a market using income, how much money people earn. People with a high level income are more likely to buy luxury goods. This means that a business could develop a high quality product to target these customers. And any example like that, anything like that, shows your understanding of market segmentation. Okay, so that's about it for today. There's only a few questions I've done there, but you can see there, if you had these questions, so it's 3, 6, 9, okay, so 11 marks out of potential 90. I think more than anything, if you can just get used to the pattern of these explain questions. So I think there's loads of explain questions, and there's 18 marks. I'll tell you what, let's go back to that sheet to help us. Where's it gone? Oh, there we go. So I think it tells you on here how many explain questions we get. 20% of the marks for each paper. So that's a significant amount of marks. Okay, any explain on paper on sections B and C? No, but either way, 20% of marks is significant. So make sure you know how to answer these explain questions. Okay, hope you found this useful. Please let me know if there's anything else you want me to do with these revision videos. We'll try and do more as we go through the term. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, take care. Bye.